Welcome to Accedo Playback, the podcast discussing industry news, trends, and tech advancements in the OTT and streaming industry. I'm your host, Neil Van Zyl. As media platforms race to reduce revenue leaks and improve customer experience, observability has become a strategic priority. AI and generative AI are increasingly effective at predicting, identifying, and communicating issues, but resolution still lags behind due to legacy architectures and incomplete visibility across the stack. Today, we're going to get into observability and the importance of metrics for your OTT service with two special guests. Senior Solutions Architect at New Relic, Stephen Shaw. Stephen, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Head of Offering and Portfolio Management, Luke Gaydon from Accedo. Luke, thanks for joining.
Great to be here.
All right, Stephen, why has observability become such a critical business priority for OTT platforms today?
Sure. I think that, first of all, observability has been, in my opinion, a critical business priority for OTT platforms for a long time. I started leveraging observability even before OTT networks were in place, and very quickly understood the power of getting the flashlight in the dark places to show you things that you just didn't know were happening. So, OTT networks are inherently complex. Typically, they exist in a multi-vendor environment. There's very complex technical stacks, lots of moving parts, lots of really intricate relationships. And, I think the saying goes, the weakest link in the chain is the best solution that you can offer. So having observability now, in my opinion, is just no longer an option. On paper, it looks pretty simple to push video down an internet pipe. In practice, it's not simple. When you factor in, scaling and all the different elements that just have to be working well for an OTT platform to be successful, for your customers to enjoy using your product, you have to have observability. Obviously there's financial impact when things go wrong. And point to any area of a video OTT platform, and we can assign a dollar figure to that when it doesn't work. So I think it's a no-brainer, Neil, is what I'm trying to say.
One thing that's kind of interesting is that even though we talk about how important it is, only about 20% of media and entertainment organizations have full stack observability. Why do you think adoption's lagging behind?
Yeah, it's interesting. We at New Relic did a very thorough media report where we work with a lot of media customers all over the world, and we asked them some pretty candid questions, and this was one of them. So in that report, what we got back from feedback from our customers was the following, and this is in descending order. So just really quickly, stack complexity, a lack of strategy, no allocated budget, siloed data, not always super clear the value and the ROI. They're overconfident that things are under control. I call that the ego trap. I was guilty of that. Expense, acceptance of change, and the last one is a little clueless or naive. That's not the case much anymore, but it was acknowledged. So look, doing observability well on any platform, media or otherwise, is not super simple. You need to have a champion. Like any other technical platform, it needs to be maintained. You have to understand where it should plug in. Now, we've worked really hard to make that as simple as possible, and AI is even improving that. But you can't put a complex solution in place and then walk away from it. I think another area is that sometimes observability is not viewed as a critical path item. I mean, technically, you can light up an OTT platform without any observability at all. It'll still work. Is that a good idea? A big fat no to that. In the past, I've had personal experience. I've worked with customers where, they do some testing in the lab, they try something new, they do a bit of QC, they think everything's great, they put it in production, and it blows up in their face. Or worse, things are happening and impacting their customers, and they just don't know it's going on. One of the big challenges I see is that some businesses, not all, some businesses don't make observability an absolute critical path item. And so I've worked with customers that started out that way, and because they realized the value of observability, they very quickly changed their mandate so that effectively they were not allowed to do anything unless observability was in place, a clear strategy, a clear budget. Every project would then start with an observability budget line. Even if it wasn't clear, they had that there, and they attacked it like any good project item. Interestingly enough, some customers come close to full stack, but they are very siloed. So they have, I think we discovered that over 60% of media companies have like 5 or more tools. Not uncommon. I was also guilty of that in the past. Different teams look at their own things. They get a specific tool for their area, their domain, but all these tools are not talking to each other. So you have all these siloed observation tools that may be really, really good at what they do, but the tools are not getting correlated, aggregated under an umbrella. They're very siloed. Siloed tools only help the teams that are using them, and they only help the data that they're looking at. So it's better than nothing, but I don't consider that full stack. If you have a bunch of separate tools siloed on islands and you don't have anything to tie that together, again, it's better than nothing, but I don't consider that full stack. For me, full stack is, key areas of the network and your data in one place. And as we move further into AI, that's going to become more and more important.
Just to sort of add a couple of thoughts, I think broadly Stephen hit the nail on the head, and I think there's a lot of goodness to be had from implementing observability in this function or that department or in this area, but until you connect up all of the dots, you're not really going to get the full value, and that's where it gets really interesting. So you've got this little project, that little project, this little pot of money, that little pot of money, and in of themselves, maybe the ROI is sort of not or is a difficult argument, and maybe once you've done a year or 2 years, like we don't need that anymore. But the reality of kind of OTT streaming today is there are so many points within your service, within the customer experience of your service, where you can lose a customer. You lose a customer over here, but everybody over here is going, but we're doing great. Our metrics are fantastic, but you're not looking at the connected picture. So somebody points a finger over there, somebody points a finger over there. That's the problem with silos. That's the problem with islands. If you don't have that connected, if you don't have that holistic view, you can get a very distorted picture of how your service is doing. And you're left scratching your head when, from month to month, you can't see or you don't understand why. Well, we were doing great here, but now what's happened over here? What's caused that? And you need that connectivity. You need that granularity, again, because if your service doesn't work for whatever reason, if somebody can't find the content, if their experience gets interrupted, you better have something exclusive that's going to stop somebody from saying, I'll go somewhere else. I'll go around the corner and I'll go and get a subscription from that person or that. I'll go and watch it on YouTube. So there's the competitive, the ever increasingly competitive nature of the space. I guess the very, very high expectations of users as well means that you need that connectivity. You need that holistic view. You need your customer experience to be one that is uniform and consistent and high quality, not in places, not in little parts here and there, but kind of across the board. Because every touch point is an opportunity to kind of deepen a relationship with the customer. It's also an opportunity to lose them.
Yeah, agreed, Luke. And one thing I wanted to just add there, it's human nature for an individual or a team to look at what they're doing and say, hey, my stuff's great. Like, go away, don't bother me. Maybe there's a problem somewhere else, but my stuff's doing fine. Whatever that is it the CDN? Is it the encoder? And is it whatever part you're responsible for? It's human nature to look at your stuff, really care about it, and if you still don't see anything wrong, okay, well, this is an issue somewhere else. So what we see happening is, when you eliminate these silos and at least allow some visibility, you can then start to help an individual or team appreciate, hey, when this happens, even though I think this is good, look at what's happening downstream of this. And maybe things look okay, but I need a second look because the current thresholds I'm evaluating under maybe aren't appropriate. I think that, and again, personal stories, when we use observability to implement across the network, we actually saw teams come together. We actually saw silos between individual teams that used to blame each other. Some of those walls came down. And that was revolutionary for us because it was, not to go into the soap opera drama, but there was some politics in the organization I was at. And some of this observability that we put in place, it helped break those barriers down. It helped people have more empathy for other teams they're working with. Anyway, it was an interesting win that, frankly, we didn't expect, but it did happen.
Luke, what defines an AI native composable OTT architecture, and how does that differ from legacy systems?
Sure. So AI native means that essentially the platform, the product, has been built using AI technologies kind of from the ground up. You're not grafting AI into an existing platform. You're kind of building it with AI at the core. Very much. I'm on the fence about whether AI native versus kind of adding AI to an existing platform, is which is better. I think time will tell. But AI native, you're building something with AI technologies right at the beginning, right at the outset, and maybe what you're building wasn't possible before AI technology was available and accessible. That's something that very often distinguishes platforms. Composable, there's a lot of similarities between kind of modular architecture and composable architecture, as opposed to kind of monolithic. So lots of individual components, sort of smaller, that do maybe one task, two tasks, versus one monolithic platform or architecture that kind of has everything in it. I think the difference with composability, and I think what is so interesting about it, is composable architecture, when it's done right, gives you interoperability. So you can kind of swap and upgrade and change components without having to rebuild the whole thing. And obviously that's really interesting when, first of all, technologies are always developing and evolving, so you want to be able to take advantage of those. Secondly, new vendors, new companies coming onto the scene the whole time, you want to be able to take advantage of those. Cost efficiencies, et cetera, et cetera. So, I've been in media and entertainment or the technology ecosystem for a long time. And, you talk to service providers and you say, how come you're still like using this or doing this like this? And they're like, it's too expensive to change it. We'd like to, but if we change this, we have to change that bit. And, that's my roadmap for the next 6 months. That's my budget. We can't do it. So when you build something with a composable architecture, when you design it, you're really giving the users of that platform, the users of that technology, a lot more agility, a lot more flexibility, a lot more choice, which is obviously a good thing right now. I think in the context of, or generally a good thing, in the context of observability, obviously having AI at the core of a platform or added on just gives you that much more kind of juice, if you will, so much more power to automate, to learn, to bubble up insights. I think New Relic has a fantastic business and the gold standard or platinum standard product already. With AI, it's going to be so exciting seeing where it goes. So I think for a platform like New Relic, AI opens up a lot of amazing possibilities to take all of that experience and knowledge and customer success from the 4 days and kind of build that into the integration of AI. And I've been using our AI as easy. The more experience, the more knowledge, the more insight, the more wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, that you can input into AI, the better the results that you get. So if you think about what New Relic as a company can kind of bring to bear in terms of that knowledge and wisdom and experience, that makes for some very exciting possibilities, I think.
I totally agree with everything that Luke is saying. I'm not in a position to disagree, frankly. But my days of designing networks are long in the past. When I think about, if we're going to sit around and have some beers and talk about, hey, how do you think AI is going to affect, architecture and things going forward? Honestly, it's all about the data, right? So AI is only as good as the data you give it, and it can only learn, from our expertise and from the data that it has. So from my perspective, observability, I mean, what is that? It is a huge data source of what's going on. So when you think about, can we harness the power of AI to do better at, real-time, hyper-dynamic changes to a network environment when things are happening? Like, will it have the ability to, as it gets better at prediction, as it learns more, to understand what's going on at any given time and be better than what we do today at dynamically making changes to a network? And what does that mean? Does that mean, actually talking to an encoder and changing what the encoder's doing in real time? Does that mean altering CDNs? Does that mean, affecting how we scale? Does that mean making changes to an actual client potentially? Who knows where it's going to go? As I mentioned, Neil, before we started, your biggest challenge during our conversation is keeping me on track here. And so I'll try not to get into the rat hole, but I see observation and observability playing a fundamental role. It's going to be a great, synergy when you open up and unleash the power of AI, of real-time architecture and design with observation data. That's my 2 cents on where I think the lines are going to cross. Right, it won't just be about observation anymore. It'll be everything all mixed together in real time. Anyway, that's where things are going to go. If I'm going to roll the dice, it's going to be that.
No, it makes sense. And obviously, no worries. It's interesting to see where you think things are going. So no issues on our part for jumping into a little bit of a tangent. Just I kind of back on what we were chatting about there about I guess composable architectures. Do modular architectures play well into leveraging a single observability platform, or how does it really apply? So say you're swapping out systems every now and then. Is that beneficial? Does that make it more difficult? How does that work, Stephen?
I can't tell you how many times we shot ourselves in the foot every time we touched our network. Like it became just a general understanding that if you touch something, you're going to break it eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so part of our business process was, thou shall not make any changes unless the appropriate observability is in place. So and that applies to any stack, media or otherwise. Change control, change management is paramount. A lot of problems exist on a technical stack because of something that we did. It happens all the time. You push a software update and something goes boom. You make a configuration change. Like I don't care what it is, and change. Like, people say, well, just don't change anything. That's not that's not realistic. Everybody, change is inevitable. That's technology. Things are improving and changing all the time, and giving us a better experience. So observation and observability just has to be plugged in, so that it doesn't matter what you're running, a monolithic architecture, a super high-tech bleeding edge, it has to be there. Does that answer your question? I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I think anyone is foolish to think otherwise, and I'd arm wrestle over that one. To think they can get away without observability. Anyway. Your data is siloed, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Getting over data silos, though, is no easy feat. I definitely know that from experience.
It's not easy, yeah.
Let's talk about some real life examples or some things that have actually happened. Can you share some examples of how AI powered observability has already prevented major incidents?
Yeah, so I think to be honest, AI intelligence, AI observability is still relatively new. Although we've been recognized as leaders in this space with what we've already done and our roadmap. I've yet to see a huge win where I can pat AI on the virtual back and say, gosh, without your help, I couldn't have done this. I know that day is coming soon. Others at New Relic may have some really good stories I'm just not aware of. So for me, I still think it's a little bit early days. But I want to also talk about a little bit like kind of where we are and where things are how we're being helped now, and then a little bit of where things I think are going, without getting too much down the rat hole. Obviously, AI has huge potential to revolutionize observability, to allow us to harness like really incredible value and effectively help us tell the story that the data is holding on to. Data always tells a story. So from a timeline perspective, AI and generative AI is really going to help us drive platforms more easily with natural language. It's going to help us build bridges, with other external platforms through leveraging agentic AI. So if we can, help users just drive the platform in a more simple, intuitive manner, that is a huge win. Right now, we have to dream up dashboards and alerts and SLIs and all these things in the platform, and in order to tell that story. I have a hunch that generative AI is going to do that, frankly, better. I mean, I imagine the day, and it's not too far off, where you literally type into the platform, "Hey, what happened today?" And it walks you through it and shows you, "Oh, well, this happened. Here's a dashboard, dynamic dashboard, showing you what I found, like a little eager puppy dog, bouncing around and helping you see things that you care about, and that symbiotic relationship will just improve." So I'm being just honest about the fact that I still have yet to see a big win with AI, but man, do I ever see the potential. I mean, already as I play with it, it's getting really good at just explaining what's happening. Hey, Stephen, this alert happened, and let me summarize for you what's going on, and this is what I think is happening. You might want to look at these areas over here. And yeah, it's not perfect, but gosh, it's already pretty good.
I think Stephen's called it. I think there's clearly improvement, and you can see the potential. I would agree. I'm not sure that I think we've had an example of where it wouldn't have happened without. But what I can definitely see is that the sort of communication around the issue whether that is back to the user or it is to different people in different departments, different functions, different companies. That which actually, when you think something can get resolved, a problem can get solved. There's an interruption. There's a service issue, whatever. It gets resolved. But is it a good resolution in the sense that everybody was given updates in a timely manner? Everybody that needed to know was kept in the loop. There was a good communication back to whoever was affected. The kind of the root cause and here's what we need to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again, etc. That to me is the difference between kind of a bad resolution and a good resolution. I've definitely seen improvements to the way that we see resolutions happening as a result of, I think, particularly generative AI. And so that communication, if you will. And I think, to Stephen's point, when you add the combination of agentic and generative, I think then gives you kind of I don't know if both sides of the coin is the right way to think about it, but that's a super exciting combination.
Awesome, Luke. As you were speaking, you cued a couple of things I wanted to talk about. One of my biggest challenges as I worked in this space, in the media space, is helping people understand what the heck they're looking at. Not everyone knows what a dash manifest is. Not everyone even understands how OTT works. I've worked with users that, in Knock, for example, that are responsible for, not just video stuff, but a lot of things. And so I've seen the power of generative AI actually help teach users what's happening and where and why. And it's like they've got a little Steve-O sitting on their shoulder explaining what they're seeing. I've had numerous calls with customers coaching them, in a post-mortem manner. Okay, look at here. Look, this is what we see. Check this out. I think there's an issue happening on the packager. This is why, we see this stalled manifest. This is what's likely happening on the client. Yes, we've got client data to verify that. So AI is just so good at that. It is so good. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I don't understand something, I'll punch into AI and get a really nice layman's term explanation, no matter what it is. Is it, if I'm working on my motorcycle or if I'm looking at medical things, it's just so good at breaking things down in an easy way to understand. It's also really convincing, and sometimes when it's wrong, that's a problem. But I think that it really has the potential to empower the users that just aren't at a PhD skill level, to empower them with more knowledge. And I think that's brilliant. And then the other thing that Luke triggered for me is this whole idea of postmortems. And the whole idea of, one of the first questions that gets asked is, hey, have we seen this before? Okay, if you've seen it before, fine, great. Are the people that saw it before still working on this issue? Did they document it effectively? Did you actually do a proper post-mortem and create a run book as to what to do if that happens next? AI is brilliant at that, and so I think that as we continue to leverage AI, it will work alongside us and help teach us things and frankly remind us of things like, hey, I saw this happen before. This is what you did. And maybe it'll start even offering suggestions about what to do next. And that, of course, leads to our self-healing discussion. But I just wanted to throw that out there, guys.
Yeah, agentic memory is a key part in kind of building these solutions forward. It is funny though. I do appreciate some of the more realism that it's definitely improving, but there is still somewhere to go. You see some C-suites claiming that AI is already doing 50% of the work at their company, and I have to believe that that's either it's doubling the work or there might be a little bit of a line that they're stretching when it comes to their stats. But
sure.
It clearly has quite a bit of possibility for where it can take it. You mentioned it, Stephen. Let's talk about the role of automation and orchestration in self-healing sort of capabilities across the OTT stack. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so this is an area that I'm frankly extremely excited about, and it's not old. I mean, the concept of self-healing has been around for a long time, and frankly, there are customers who have been doing it for a long time. I guess what gets really exciting is when you factor in, how AI is going to make that easier. But in my opinion, that is a natural evolution of any observability platform. So observability platforms show humans what's going on. They help the humans see what's happening where, and but then it's up to them to do something with it, right? So it's kind of a natural evolution to say, well, wait a minute, if I see this happening and I know how to fix it, can I put some logic in place just to have that fix take place? So self-healing's been around for a while, but I think it's making a real resurgence, specifically because of how AI can help, frankly, make it easier. It's a complex thing to maintain, and so if AI can do some of that heavy lifting, I think that there's some extremely exciting opportunities for automation and self-healing. There are, I should say, platforms on the market today that specialize in that. And so, again, it's not new. New Relic is extremely interested in this, and we are building our own self-healing workflows. It's not GA yet. It's still in development, but it will be GA, I think, relatively soon. I mean, look, humans can't react fast enough in a high-stakes scenario. A friend of mine works in the stock market, and there's all this automation happening there. And I think he told me they had to actually turn it down because it was too good. Like it was so fast that the humans couldn't react. And anyway, I won't spin off too much, but the reality is when things are going wrong in a high-stake scenario, for us to see what's going on, understand the impact, what's happening, where, who owns it, how bad is it, do we need to do something, what do I do next? If we can, as experts, proactively, I'll use the word teach an AI agent what to do in that scenario, it inherently is going to be much better at recognizing, knowing what to do next, and executing. So I think stage one is, hey, I'm the expert. I know what this use case is. I know exactly what has to be done. Do this, right? Fail over this encoder to that encoder, change the scene of that, whatever it is. And that's, stage one, early phases is the human is the expert. I'm curious how long it's going to take for AI to become the expert. So it has so much knowledge and it's learned so much that it starts to see patterns and it starts to see problems ideally before they occur. And then it starts to suggest what needs to be fixed. Initially, it will ask the human, hey, this is what I'd like to do. May I proceed? And, the user does an audit and decides yes or no. It won't be long after before. How many times you click yes, 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 yes? Do you just say, you know what? I trust you. For these scenarios, I think you can take this on your own now. And then AI just does it, right? And then informs us what's happening. So, look, self-healing, and that leads back to our previous conversation that Luke and I were talking about with dynamic architecture. Finding and fixing things. What if you're in a scenario where something is found and fixed, and then it's decided, you know what? I think we need to change the architecture slightly to do this, so this doesn't happen again. That's all part and parcel. So, kind of a long-winded answer, but I think self-healing is, again, a natural evolution, and it's going to become table stakes for any observation platform. Like if there's an observability platform that doesn't do self-healing or can at least integrate with a self-healing solution, it'll be gone. That's how I feel.
What does a fully realized next-gen OTT observability stack look like in 5 years from now? We've talked about how, listen, self-healing is going to become table stakes, and AI will probably become much more important. But is there anything else to it, or do you feel like those are the two key elements?
I'm going to let Luke take that one. For me, you nailed it. I mean, it's super powered by AI with next level hands-off automated healing. Like that's I think it's absolutely going to happen. So I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah. Is there anything? Yeah. Is there anything to add to that? I think composable design, composable architecture. I think we will see more and more emphasis put on that type of system design and that type of architecture. Because to Stephen's point, you can imagine if you have the type of connected, holistic observability implementation that we've been talking about, and you're able to go into those dark places or little holes and kind of see where problems are. You can find yourself resolving an issue, fixing something, and then realizing laterally, okay, that actually has quite a big impact downstream, upstream, and actually maybe we want to do things as a result in a very different way. And again, that agility, that flexibility, the sort of the self-healing, business aware, automated potential of AI is only as powerful as a service's ability to implement and change with the recommendations that have been made, or with the insights that have been delivered. So if you're, and I think this has been a problem with for OTT and streaming media and entertainment companies, is like you got a whole list of things that you can do, of problems, of issues, of things that people want. You have limited time, limited resources, etc. So the ability to act on those recommendations, on those insights when it comes to new technologies, new platforms, new products, kind of swapping things in and out, I think is going to be super critical to realize the potential of the observability stack that's kind of giving you all of that, and probably also hopefully directing some of those changes, I would hope and expect. I'm really excited about a sort of a world where the execs have had their big meeting, and they've looked at their budget, and they've looked at their strategy for the year, and they've got their KPIs or their OKRs or whatever, and they input them into their observability platform, and it goes right, okay, and it starts immediately thinking about, okay, well, what do we need to do differently, or okay, well, we need to keep an eye on that actually that's going to have a big impact. So really using observability to kind of proactively drive businesses forward, and in doing so improve them, make for a better user experience. I think that's super exciting, and I would hope to see more of that.
Yeah.
I love that answer, Luke. That was really interesting. One thing I think that's been a little bit more common than most like to admit is that content providers and streaming services are kind of delaying their AI adoption, or they're taking much more of a cautious stance with it. What are the risks? What are the risks in this, right? What are the challenges they're going to face in a couple of years if they are behind on adopting AI, both in observability and in just their platforms?
Like any new technology, AI is so revolutionary, right? It can be scary, and so like any technology, it has to go through a trust building exercise. It has the potential to have a huge impact, good or bad, and so just to hand the reins over to a new technology blindly is foolish. No one's going to do that. But if it can prove itself, and you can build confidence in that technology, and it's really doing some great things for you, then why wouldn't you harness that? So I mean, if you think about, let's say you want to stand still and really hold off. I'm not sure, but your competitors are embracing it. and maybe they've gone through a little bit of pain initially, but they're engaged. They're helping to make the technology better. They're understanding where it empowers them and how to leverage that. And as a result, they're reducing churn, they're reducing OpEx, they're keeping a really good handle on their customer experience, the best that they possibly can. And they're truly understanding how their product is served and how teams are best utilized. If your competitors are doing that and you aren't, how are you going to survive? And as a consumer of content, look, we all watch content. I want the best experience I can possibly get. We don't have a very large bandwidth now for a video service that's clunky. When you've got like mega players on the market that just absolutely nail it, that's a high bar, and it's only going to get better. And so if you, like any really good, powerful technology, if you don't adopt a technology that your competitors are benefiting from, you're going to get left behind. And that's, that happens all the time. So I get it, but it's just, it's our job to, frankly, work with our customers to help them improve our solution. And we love doing that, right? Like, AI is not perfect. We know this. But if we work on it together, it can get pretty darn close. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
I think that's exactly right, Stephen. I guess I think that my view on AI generally is that at the moment it's kind of overhyped. I think we will probably appreciate
Agreed.
that, but the transformative impact of AI on, I'm struggling to think of somewhere where it's not going to have a transformative impact. That is drastically underappreciated, is my personal view. And so I don't think you have to be the first through the wall. And for some companies, this isn't a kind of it's not, should we pick it up? Should we not? They're hard business decisions. Where do we allocate resources? We've got a limited amount of time, of money, etc. But there has to be a plan. And even if that plan is, well, let's just learn. Let's just go out there, go into the market. Let's be informed so that, when we do decide to do something, we're going to do it with confidence, and we're going to do it efficiently. But I think everything that Stephen said, is right. The successful implementation of AI will improve so many business critical metrics for streaming services that it will very shortly become something. You won't be competitive if you're not leveraging it properly. And I was musing about this earlier. I was like, imagine if somebody said, "Oh yeah, we're not going to do anything about it," and then their investors said, "Well, we need to see you hit this milestone or that milestone in 12 months' time." And 12 months' time, they had or they hadn't, but they then look across the road and they see a company or a service that implemented AI, and guess what? They hit that milestone. And that's, I think it's going to be that level of decision. It is that some businesses will, I think, could miss out completely if they don't really think about it. And I think they'll be asked as well. I think, boards, investors, they're already saying, okay, what's your plan? What are you going to do? So I'm not saying adopt tomorrow. I realize it's not that easy, but I think start getting wise to it, start getting smart to it. And as Stephen said, it's our jobs as part of that technology ecosystem to help inform, to help educate, to help answer some of these questions. I think we have a responsibility to kind of play our part in that decision-making process, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, ditto.
Gents, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate both of you joining this one.
Thank you, guys. Had fun.
Thank you for listening. That's all for this episode. Big thanks to Luke and Stephen for joining today. Really appreciate the conversation. If you liked what you heard, feel free to give us a follow or drop us a rating. If you're curious in learning more about what was going on with New Relic or Accedo, we'll both be attending IBC. Feel free to drop by the Accedo booth. We're located at F80 in Hall 5. This year, we'll be showcasing our AI-native, data-first, modular end-to-end platform, which comes pre-integrated with New Relic. If you have any questions about the episode or just want to chat, send us a message at playback.podcast@accedo.tv or send me a message on LinkedIn. That's all for this time, and we'll see you at IBC. Thanks.